Welcome everyone to the October 18th, 2024 edition of the Zooch and Wilde podcast. We got a great show today to get into. Ole Miss, Oregon, Ohio State, just a great weekend of college football, and we got another great weekend coming up this weekend. Some great SEC games. Zooch, before we get into your Ole Miss meltdown, because that's what we're going to start the show with. Zooch, Ole Miss fan, one of the top games last week, did not end in his favor. Want to remind everyone that code ZNW15 can still be used for 15% off all merch at the Settle Down store. So please use that. The weekend of great college football lived up to the hype. We're gonna start. Zooch doesn't even know me. Ole Piss question mark. Zooch, the floor is yours to start the conversation recapping the Ole Miss LSU game.
I would have started with, what did I say last week that if they avoided, they would win?
What did you say last week? A stupid
I
penalty?
said
Like turn
if you don't turn the ball over in the red zone. Actually, they did okay on third downs. I think they were like 50%, but somehow they had like 22 third downs, which is kind of nuts when you think about it. But it basically said, don't make stupid mistakes and you should win. And in the first three drives, they dropped a touchdown pass, missed a field goal, and didn't convert on a 4th and 1.
that I felt the same way watching that game. I mean, back and forth. And I know no team wants to hear this, but Ole Miss looked like they probably beat LSU 6 out of 10 times. Like if that game was played in the series, Ole Miss comes back, but this is football, baby. And credit Garrett Nussmeier. He won. He won.
No,
It's just
I texted you. I mean, it legitimately on the group chat. I said, "Oh, here we go, another 3rd and long," and they didn't get it. It's twice they've lost. It's not funny. It's kind of annoying, but they've literally both losses. They had the opponent on a 4th and 7 inside their own 20-yard line and let them convert both times. But I mean,
it's not good. Yeah,
there's not like anything to like. Yeah, I was annoyed, but there's not anything to be mad about because you did it to yourself again. It's not like, I don't know. It's not like LSU came out and won 55-7 and you're like, oh, well, they're not even good. They probably should have won again. Like you can't drop a touchdown. I mean, legitimately, first series of the game, like second or third play, Trey Harris, who is, I mean, I think maybe I'm biased, but probably the best receiver in football, hits him.
Yeah, I'd say it's a little biased. I think I'd put my foot down and say that's a little biased,
yeah,
but
okay,
very good
3.
nonetheless. And
Like,
yeah,
so
I have
shouldn't drop
him still. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, that's fine. Shouldn't probably drop a wide open touchdown pass, but it happens. And the Mets are down 4-0.
Yeah, ladies and gentlemen, we are recording this in Game 3 of the NLCS. So we have a friend who's a Mets fan. So if there's Mets interjections in here, just know that it's because Zooch is looking straight at his phone to see what the reaction is going to be. But the Ole Miss game, if you're the only thing you're worried about, if you're Ole Miss, because I do agree this was just a back and forth game, credit to LSU, is it's becoming Lane Kiffin's MO now, where it's
That's
like
the
he's
bigger
the
thing.
king. He's the king of the very good team. Like,
yeah, and I don't know.
not
It's
the
not
great
like,
team. He's the king of the very good team in his time at Ole Miss. And it's this weird thing that I'll let you talk, but it's interesting because you said before the year, like before the expanded playoff, Ole Miss was happy with 9 wins, squeeze into the Peach Bowl, squeeze into the Sugar Bowl, win it. That's the best season that Ole Miss has. Now with the playoff, and you have Lane Kiffin, and you have one of the top NIL budgets, and you have talent. It's like a school that used to be satisfied with this. Their expectations are now raised to somewhere where they've never haven't even been in 60, 70 years.
yeah, and you start the preseason number 6, and you can't, like, I'm not like one of the people who's like, oh, like, go to Florida, all that. That to me is kind of stupid to sit there and say, like,
Online
you
is
have
going crazy.
Yeah.
There have been very rude things said on the message board.
Well,
Let's just say that the Oxford message board is going crazy.
yeah, and you have to take it a little bit. Like, I'm not happy with it or whatever because I think they should be undefeated. I don't think they should have lost either of those games. So I do think there is some criticism warranted. I don't think it should be directed like Jackson Dart. I mean, the dude gets hit 50 times a game. He seems like a
I
pretty
mean,
tough dude to me. Like,
I mean, you have to be tough when you do an Anakin Skywalker impression after the
that's
game.
true. He was so sad after that. But I mean, I don't know. We'll see. Oh, Shohei Ohtani just got hit right in the nuts.
Shohei just got hit.
But
Oh man.
I think there's still some overreaction to it. Like, to me, the proper reaction should be you deserve to lose because of what you did in the first quarter. You should have been up
Hmm.
17-0. You shouldn't the defense played, I thought, pretty well. Like, you know, Nussmeier's gonna make some plays. Like, you're not just gonna go the whole game and he's not gonna I understand LSU has been quote unquote down, but they're still have been since Brian Kelly got there, like a 3-loss team. They're not
Hmm.
LSU is still a very good football program. The Kentucky one
Yeah.
is probably a bad loss because they just lost to Vanderbilt. But I
Although
don't know,
Vanderbilt could be a good loss. Vanderbilt could be good this year. The SEC. You know, when Saban leaves, everyone wanted to anoint Kirby. I mean, besides Texas, but it's their first year at their own program. It's created like almost this power vacuum in the SEC. I feel like, and
and you
LSU.
don't
Oh, I'll
go
go
ahead.
for it.
Well, you don't now their back is super against the wall. Like they basically
Hmm.
would have to win out. I think if they won out, they would be in the playoff. I don't see them at 10-2, not because
Yeah.
and it's not because I think that people would look and be like, oh, they're better than whoever, like 10-2, Arizona State or whoever it could be. But there's so many teams already have one loss now. Like everybody in the top 10 has a loss except
Yeah.
for
It's
Texas
Texas.
and Oregon. And Texas still, I'll talk about later, they still have Georgia. They still
Yeah.
have
And
A&M.
Oregon's had a couple real close calls with
Yeah.
some good teams.
So
Like,
it's not, you have to win that Georgia game. Like we'll see what happens with Oklahoma and Arkansas. But LSU plays Arkansas this week. LSU could lose that
that'll
game,
be a
or
good one.
Arkansas could be horrible. So I don't think people should.
Although LSU versus
I understand
Arkansas,
the frustration. Go
the
ahead.
Josh Pate AI meme tweet, very close to the left.
That was so funny. But it's not I don't for the first 24 hours or whatever. I was kind of annoyed because I'm like, you got to be kidding. And I knew going in overtime that LSU was probably going to win. They just had too much momentum at that point. It felt like
Mhm.
I was like, well, here we go again. But I don't think that if they lost to that you sent that one tweet that said if they it would be worse to me if they lost to Arkansas and then beat Georgia. Obviously,
Yeah.
Georgia, honest to God, that game's in November. So
Yeah.
if they were to beat Georgia, there's a very strong chance. I mean, if Georgia wins Saturday, which I mean a lot of people don't think they are for whatever, I think this is the perfect game for Georgia to win because
Oh,
Kirby Smart has the
back against the
all
wall. It's back against the wall.
yeah.
Kirby.
So
Kirby
if
is
Georgia
not front running Kirby. Kirby has got to have his back against the wall. He just got to get super sick with it. You know, the hair has to be extra floppy on the visor. Just
yeah, and
This is how this game has to
Georgia
go.
could be number 1 and if Ole Miss were to win out and somehow they beat Georgia, they'll probably be in. Now it could go the other way, and since you have all these transfers and stuff, you just lose control, and they're
Hmm.
7-5. But we'll see. I don't think there's the people who are acting like they suck are stupid to me. I'll just say that. That I don't
That's
think they
fair.
suck. They have 2 losses on the last play of the game. It's not the end of the world. I guess you could say they shouldn't have been number 6 in the preseason, but I don't know who else you would have put. It's a preseason poll, so it's based
Yeah.
on it's
Well,
based on the stuff that you or the reason you rank people in the preseason poll. Like nobody would have had BYU. What are they, like 11 or
yeah,
12 now? No one would have
yeah,
had them at 12, and
11.
so it's
Mhm.
like a stupid comment to me to be like, oh,
I
yep,
don't
they
I
were.
don't even look I don't even look at the polls until the first college football playoff ranking, which is coming out the same day as the election. They knew what they
That
were
could be
doing
bad
because
news.
they are not expecting us college football fans to get angry at it because they think we're going to be focused on the election. No, no, no. Not me. Not this guy.
If for some reason they called Georgia like one way or the other, and then Georgia comes out as like ranked 3 and they or like whatever and 1, January 6th might look like a, school field trip when things are done. And we've got to tread carefully. They need to get in contact with CNN and Fox News and be like, hey, you know what? Like, we need to space this out. Like, just stay too close to the call for a couple hours, let people vent for a little bit on Twitter, and then get back to the show. That's how they need to play it. But last thing on Ole Miss, just keep playing out the season, see how it works out. You could still do some pretty good things, but you can't lose again. Otherwise, you will be a big disappointment in a lot of people's eyes.
I agree. Election year and CFB selection committee rankings drop. Dangerous in the same year.
Yes.
But another thing that's dangerous, the Oregon Ducks are looking dangerous. They look good. And what was awesome about this game was if you had to look up a picture or a video dictionary and said, what's a college football game? This was it. It had explosive plays on offense. It had old guys making plays. It had young guys making plays. It had coaches. It had two big brands. It had, the perfect 4:30 West Coast, 7:30 East Coast start time. It had a dude spit in someone else's face and get ejected. Like this game had it all, and it ended in the perfect college way, which is why I love college football. And that's someone making a dumb mistake or a couple of dumb mistakes that lead to a loss. And I want to ask this question that we know Oregon won. We know they look good. Oregon probably is the top team in the Big Ten now. Actually, not probably, definitely is the top team in the Big Ten now. I know Penn State fans will make an argument, but nope, not listening to that after you almost blew it to USC. But Ryan Day now, I think, is 2-6 versus the top five, and you could say it's top
Yeah,
five
not good.
teams. How close is he to the hot seat, or is he on the hot seat yet? I don't think it's yet, but it's like
It,
we talked about it last week. It's like every game in its singularity. Like if you look at it, you can make an excuse for like, oh man, tough game. But when you look at it as a whole, it's like, man, he has 8 tough games. That's a trend.
and like we joked a little bit earlier about like the people saying with Lane Kiffin, like go to Florida or whatever. That's like a little bit ridiculous. With Ryan Day, they are legit. Like, I don't know that he would be back if they don't. You have to like. At Ole
Beat
Miss, I don't think
Michigan.
you like if Lane Kiffin goes 9-3, there's zero shot he would get fired based
Hmm.
on like on the field, like zero shot. That's not going to happen. If Ohio State goes 9-3, they might not say fired, but I don't know that Ryan Day would come back because that is a place where I mean, maybe Alabama and Georgia or and Texas get a little bit more like in terms of facilities and stuff like that, but I don't even know if they get more than Ohio. Like Ohio State
There's not
is
a team that's not low.
like
There is not a team that's not located in the southern part of the United States that gets more resources than Ohio State.
yeah, and
Like
it's you can't. He has not won any. That's the thing there. It's not. uh Oh, like I'm trying to think of someone like trying to think of a coach who like won a title and then it's like things turned like sour, but not super. Like Jimbo Fisher, I guess, for example, at Florida
Jimbo
State, like
Fisher, Coach O.
he won
Coach
a
O's another recent example.
yeah, and like they like I guess Jimbo Fisher had the one losing season. Coach O had all that other stuff. Like I guess they didn't really like his culture and all the rumors about like him running around with the like co-eds and stuff. But
Yeah.
like Ryan Day you cannot go 9-3 I understand like Ole Miss had, playoff expectations. Ohio State and Texas and Georgia were the consensus like, oh, you need to win the national championship. Kirby Smart has what, 3? He's not going
Mm-hmm.
anywhere, even if they lost 3 games this year. Sark going into the next year, if they lost 3 games, I think it would be like a, hey man, like fix this. Like we were supposed to win it. Ryan Day is, like you said, had a history of 10-2, 11-1, but keeps losing to Michigan. I don't know that they will this year. Or if they beat Michigan, losing in the playoff. So like even
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I will say though with that game, who in the hell did they get to commentate that game? Because it sounded like a
It was the
church
NBC guy. It was the
yeah, it was
NBC
just
guys. It was oh my gosh, who does the NBC? It's is it Brady Quinn or is
was
he
it
on
Brady
Fox
Quinn? Oh,
now?
he's on Fox. He's on the Big Noon
Yeah,
Kickoff. I can't
NBC.
think of who it was, but even it was so bad. Even my mom, because I was at my parents watching the Ole Miss game, she was like, "Well, this game seems boring," and she's from Michigan and
Oh my gosh,
she hates Ohio.
look at so it's Ahmad Fareed, remember him, and Michael Robinson, the old fullback for the Seahawks. Remember him?
Oh yeah, yes, it is sad. And like, I don't know if they were like, like tampering
You
down the
couldn't have slept.
crowd noise, but it was hard going from like the Ole Miss game to that because, and I get it's Death Valley or whatever, but it felt like the Ole Miss LSU game felt like a bigger game because of the, and I like I said, I think they had to have been doing something to the crowd noise because like it
I don't know.
was so
It was
quiet
interesting
putting on that
because when
Oregon game.
I was listening to some. I remember because this is the same crew that did the Boise game. Obviously, I didn't listen because I was there in person. But when I rewatched the highlights, it's almost like they were more into it for that game, or was that like a separate crew that like
No,
the
yeah,
Peacock crew? Because like
it was
when
weird.
they called Boise, Oregon, it was the complete opposite. Now maybe I don't know. I think it was the same crew. People can correct me if I'm wrong. Maybe it's a little like Autzen fatigue, like, oh man, I was already here. Like this is like nothing, but still, it was that was easily the best game of the year so far. And Oregon flipping to the Oregon side, they keep squeaking out wins. Dan Lanning gets another kind of like checkbox win. He finally got the New Year's Six last year in the Fiesta Bowl, and this is kind of another step for Dan Lanning, who a lot of people say is ascending into that echelon of coaching. But I think if Dan Lanning continues to ascend, I think he needs to establish a conference championship, and then he goes from there. But it's just continuing these steps to become one of the greats if he
And
keeps on this path.
it's what makes college football so good because 3-4 weeks ago, whatever it was, when they struggled with Idaho, struggled with Boise State, everyone was like, "Oh,
Mm.
you know what?
Yep.
Oregon's not good. They're just not good. Like you're gonna tell me this team is gonna beat Ohio State? I don't. You just like, and that's what kind of annoys me about a lot of media nowadays is you don't need 4.5 hours to break down a game. You like with the Ole Miss game, you could break it down in the 5 or 10 minutes, whatever it took us. Like they played like they made stupid mistakes. That's why they lost.
Hmm.
Ohio State probably lost because for some reason Will Howard decided to slide, and because and anyone who complains about this is a level A dork. Anyone who complains about them doing the 12 men on the field thing, don't watch football anymore. Like
No, I
it,
also I also wholeheartedly agree. And luckily, those people are far and few in between. But it's like, why would you get mad at and look, I'm not gonna lie, I've seen like 5 people on Twitter say that out of the thousands I interact with. Those five
many
people
of them were
need
Ohio
to
State
need
fans.
to need to revoke. Yeah, most of them were Ohio State fans, but those people need to reevaluate their love of football and their
There,
relationship with just dude, have fun. Like it's a smart play. Like you can't penalize them for getting like for using a rule. Like remember when Belichick did that or Vrabel used to do that with the punts and it forced the NFL to change the punt. It's like you're they're actually doing them a favor because they're exposing a bad rule. Like yeah, it does suck that they kind of just had like a wasted play, but it's like, you know, They were doing
Not
what
my fault.
the rule book,
Your
yeah.
job as a coach is to know that stuff or have someone on your staff
And that's
who
another thing
knows
with the
that stuff.
Ryan Day.
And to the
Like,
guy who said that it's the worst thing he's ever seen in college football, buddy, Penn State was raping children. Okay, it's not even close to the worst thing that's ever happened in college football. Penn State was having
it's
children raped in a locker room. There have been Florida was just like balls off the wall, balls to the wall, going crazy in Gainesville. It is a smart play. And Dan Lanning, obviously, he is a pretty good coach because I didn't even know that was a thing. Like I had no clue
yeah,
that was a
it's
thing. I was like, oh, that was kind of smart, like.
yeah, to the
And
people
now,
who like
the reason it was smart is
it's
because now college football has changed it. Like a midweek
mhm,
change, they're like, oh, you can't do that anymore
yeah.
because you played the system, kind of like
No,
you found
I
found a way around it.
yeah, I saw the tweet of the guy who you were talking about, and yeah, to say it's one of the worst, it's like this is a sport that people. I mean, in collegiate sports, just last year, like we had a New Mexico State player. I know it's basketball, but it's a New Mexico State player shot at a rival player, like literally, like, and that's what you say the worst thing is, like
Yeah, you're
holy
mad they
moly, and even
played the
if
team.
and
It's
even if
fine.
you're in and even if they're yeah, even if you're in like the same realm of like that's not fair. We literally saw a team win the national championship last year with confirmed cheating. So I
Right.
don't like it's just it's beyond me. Also, Connor Stallion's on the podcast train, so he's just kind of blabbering nothing, not listening to a single thing that ass has to say. Connor Stallions, but checking in with the other games. Not much to say about the Red River rivalry. I was actually hoping to talk to like more about it, but I have really nothing to say. Like just an ass whooping, and the Sooners, in the words of Cody Voisin, that offense doesn't look ready for the SEC.
There's a lot of teams, and that's what I was kind of alluding to earlier. Ole Miss isn't in that bad of a spot. They're not in what Oklahoma is. They're not in what I mean, the freaking I don't know what in God's name Billy Napier. Florida should have beat Tennessee. That was like some of the dumbest things I've ever seen in my life. Like
That's the first
there's
time
no
I've
way that
ever
man gets
seen a
on
coach
Twitter.
get iced. That is the first time I've ever seen a coach get iced because Tennessee called the timeout and then Billy Napier was like, "Okay, I guess we'll kick it." Like a coach got iced.
No, it's that one was bad. We almost had a complete. If South Carolina had gone down the field and scored against Alabama after getting that onside kick, we could have.
Come
We
apart. Come
legitimately
apart.
might have had like. It would not have just been a come apart. We might have had like a picture of like Kalen DeBoer's family like bound and gagged saying like leave Tuscaloosa now if you want to see your family because
It definitely would
that
have
was an
been
like
like it definitely would have been like a address leaked kind of loss, like bad.
what and it's kind of making me like it's so weird because I'm like it's like I don't know with this season that like I don't first off you have to be what 17-0 or whatever it is to win the national title and go undefeated. I don't think we're even going to get. I honestly am starting to think that the winner of the national title might have two losses because
It could get crazy.
there have been two, like all of these teams who are considered like national title caliber, with the exception of Texas, have had some very, very close. Either they have a loss or they've had some close losses. Like Georgia has, Oregon has, Alabama definitely has. Ohio State
Hmm.
already has a lot. Like and I'm not saying Ohio State's going to go out and lose to like Illinois or whoever, but I mean, I'm not even so sure that whoever, like, I think the loser of some of these conference championship games might end up being
Oh
in the national title because
yeah, just the.
I just have not seen somebody who looks far and away better. I guess you could say Ohio State would have won if it was in Columbus. Like,
Hmm.
okay, well, you're going to get one playoff game in Columbus. The rest are going to be, if you make the playoff, neutral site games. So, and your corners kind of got shredded. So you better hope
That's
that
what we said. We said that during last week. We said the DBs that loaded so-called loaded secondary. I guess they maybe got exposed. Maybe that's not their true colors, but they said that they had to make Dylan Gabriel prove himself. And Dylan Gabriel showed up, why he keeps getting these big NIL deals, why he was a Heisman front runner. He's kind of pushed himself back into that Heisman top 5 after that performance. But yeah, great week of college football. I mean, Lincoln Riley meltdown. Touch on that quick.
The
Yeah,
cowherd video.
they blew. Yeah, that it is the cowherd tweet. So was he playing a character? Like, or like was he like trying to come off as just like, I don't want to use this word lightly, but like trying to come off as like a prick?
I think he tries to be like California cool, and it just
That's
comes
not.
off as
I
like
live in I live in LA. I've grown up in California my whole life. That's not that's someone like cosplaying as California cool.
that's what I'm saying. It's almost like he can't like. And one of my favorite sports like talk people of all time is Jim Rome, and you definitely know he's from California, like just like some of the stuff he says and all that kind of stuff. Like you know he's like a California guy, but it's like Colin Cowherd does like you said, like what an SNL character of like a California like sports
He
fan
literally does like an
would be
SNL
like.
character of like, it's just like pick any like affluent suburb of LA County or Alameda County or
Well, and he
Sacramento County. Like it's just like
his
that's
and his one of his problems too, and we're getting kind of off track. He is not a big college football fan, which is fine. And I know this because I think I sent it to you a couple weeks ago, maybe a little longer. But he has Joe Klatt on, who I love Joe Klatt. Like
oh,
I think he's
Joe Klatt
great.
hates his guts. You could tell like they're friends outside, but you could tell Joe Klatt has to keep it PG on his show a lot of the times.
Well, he said something like, "I think Tennessee." Cowherd is like, "I think Tennessee is the best team in football, and you can tell me if I'm wrong." And immediately
He
Joe
goes,
Klatt's
"You're
like, "You're
wrong."
wrong." And they like lost to
Yes.
I think it was the week they lost to Arkansas. So it's like that was weird. But I mean, also, why in God's name does USC let just anybody pay to run out of the tunnel? Did you see that?
Dude, yes, I saw that. The guy running on the field. Apparently it only costs like $1,500. I say only, like, but if you making six figures a year, but like you said, there's no vetting process. Like it's just like paying for a hotel room. You book it because
Yeah.
the second I would have seen that guy, I would have been, hey, or like put in the binding thing that you sign to go on. It's like, hey, only USC gear, like nothing else. But like that guy, that freak ran out on the field just yelling, "We are," in a tank top, dude. Like what? It's not 2011, you tool.
It was not a good look for the Trojans. Another blown lead. 3-3 now. Probably not making the playoff.
No,
But I mean, they're another one. It's like these close games. You're just like, you have to be frustrated as a USC fan. The
you
Brisket
do.
man just he's
Brisket
what
man,
8 and
tuna
13
man.
or something, 5 and 8 in his last 13 games.
It's
Not
not
good.
looking good.
Not
I
good.
saw that stat. I mean, we'll talk later in the year about hot seat coaches, probably right before the last week. Maybe give our coaching firing predictions. So that'll be a fun thing for you guys to look forward to. Something I'm looking forward to. All right, that was a lot to talk about. That was one of our longer talking about the games just because they were so good this
They
year.
were great.
That was just so. Yeah, we're gonna move on to the weekly segment, the list, where we find tweets and
We
other
have a
social media
lot of
postings.
entrants.
Yes, social media postings, and just say that now. While these are funny, why don't we tone it back a little bit because they have been added to the list, and the people who post these need to be added to a federal watch list because they just need to stop. That's all I will say. I think did you go first last week? Because I only have two that that I found, and they
I think I
actually might
went
be fun.
first last week.
I think they might be some of yours. So the first one comes from at Cooked by Kane, Blue Kane's burner on Twitter, and he quote tweeted, and Hannah Cavender, so one of the Cavender twins, famous on TikTok, dating Carson Beck at Georgia, and she posted a cute picture of him, her and him after the game on Twitter. The caption says QB is a QT. And it's just a very cordial picture of this couple, two young famous athletes. And at Cooked by King quote tweets it and says, "Get away from him, whore." it just it's SEC ball, man. You just cannot do it. Now that one was bad, but that's expected. She gets a lot of hate. Like it's like that one. It's just bad. This next one was absolutely unreal, and it's in the conversation of list of the year by @Fedical 9 and 3. It says how it feels to watch a Neil Brown coached football team, and it's a video of a leaked fraternity pledge hazing of someone throwing up all over two kids. I was dumbfounded that this was allowed on that app. Like I seriously thought it was going to be deleted, and I checked right before this. Still up, the tweet's still up. At Fedical needs his account banned for that tweet. Hilarious, but banned.
There was this, so I'm gonna have quite a few. Podcast might go 10 minutes long this week because I have quite a few. Okay, first one was at Kyler Winfrey 25, who has a picture of Kalen DeBoer looking in a mirror, and inside the mirror is Brian Harsin. It appears he is an Auburn fan. Needs to stop. Okay, that is one of them.
Oh my god.
Next up is Not Fear the Wave, who Jackson Dart after the game was upset. Another 3-point loss, had his hoodie on, and he said, "Do not let this man near the Jedi Temple." Tulane is now on the list. Let me pull up the last couple I got. We'd already did the one about the Cavender twin. Oh no, where'd it go? Okay, this was a late edition.
Oh yes,
we had
a late edition.
A late edition from Callie Ferocious. He said, "Hey, Lane Kiffin is out recruiting somewhere in Mississippi." He said, "Hey, Lane, stop by Madison, Mississippi," which I've been there multiple times, "and be sure Charlie and Kevin come with you. The Charlie Weiss Jr., the Ole Miss OC, and Kevin Smith, their running backs coach. Nothing will happen to them. You are just, you're not saying like you're teetering the First Amendment line there." But
that is it.
And number one, without a doubt, and he should never, ever, ever be allowed south of the Mason-Dixon line because of this, ever, period. I almost had to block him because he's already annoying. Charlie Kirk went to the Oregon game. I don't know if everyone knows who Charlie Kirk is.
Saw this.
He's a political commentator. This dork wore earplugs to a college football game.
Saw that.
And the worst part, he reposted it, and edited him out because he knows he looked like a
dude. That's incredible. And first of all, you're totally right. Earplugs at the college football game. Like, what are you, like Drew Brees' kid in the Super Bowl? Like, those are for babies. Those are for absolute babies, like wearing earmuffs at a college game. Secondly, don't care where you stand politically. Charlie Kirk, obviously more on the conservative side. You do not be surprised if this pisses off his fan base, because you cannot wear. Try that at Bryant Denny Stadium. Try that at Kyle Field, and that's a lot. That's like that's supposed to be his ballpark, right? No, I agree. He is a goober for that. That is the big. It's incredible that's the biggest thing I think that Charlie Kirk has done that makes him look like the biggest goober. And there's a lot, but earplugs in Autzen, shame.
Any college, like I said, not allowed past the Mason-Dixon line. There needs to be some sort of border security keeping Charlie Kirk out of. He should just not be allowed to go to an SEC game, because
is there anything he can do to make it up? Is there anything to do to make it up? Does he have to? Okay, I have a proposition for him. I think he needs to sit the rest of this year out of college football. He can watch on the TV. I think he has to spend an entire season sitting right next to the Vandy Whistler for SEC baseball,
Yes.
and then he can earn his way back. I think for next year. Is that a fair punishment?
I'll
Fits the crime.
consider it. As of right now, he has. I mean, I didn't
He's
like follow
banned.
him or anything. Yeah, he is banned. Like I just saw that. The reason I saw it is because a South Carolina Gamecocks fan quote tweeted and said, "Earplugs at the college football game, pussy." That's what they say. So he is, you can do a lot of stuff and like people will like stand behind you. And this is why I love it. This is why I love the South. It is like Jesus, family, and college football are and food, very, very important. And if you like, it's sacrilegious to wear earplugs to a college football game unless you are a newborn child. And this man is like
Yes.
30 something years old. And like, I mean, I just can't even understand it. Like, I would just, like, if I was at that game and I saw him, and even if I didn't know who he was, I'd be like, is that dude really wearing earplugs like at this
No,
game right
no. I
now?
would assume there would be something like medically wrong. Like that. Like my brain would immediately go like, oh, medical like procedure. Like because I couldn't fathom a grown man doing that. Like I seriously couldn't. Like I'm speechless. I'm speechless. But yeah, total dork move on his part. For that. That was a great list segment. That's up there with one of the best ones of the year. That's a good one. Like I said, there are some. There will be some good ones, and let's just say week of the election, we might have to tame the list down, or maybe we'll
Right.
have to have a list show because that one will not be good, but it will be good. All right, let's move on to the games that are going to be on tomorrow. This is, if you love SEC, this is your weekend. Talking about the two big SEC games: Tennessee versus Alabama, Texas, Georgia. Going to start with Tennessee, Bama. Um, is this or could this be a playoff, not eliminator, but a playoff maybe stressinator? Because I'm calling this
Oh,
game kind of like the Ole Miss LSU, where the loser no longer fully controls their own destiny.
yep. So what you're gonna have with this game is neither one of these teams are, or actually is Alabama. What are they, 5?
I think they're top 10. Alabama's still top 10.
And where did Tennessee fall to?
I
They
want to say they're
are
just outside the top
they're
10.
11. So it's
Yeah,
11 and Alabama is 7. So this
7
really isn't
11.
that much. Yeah, this isn't that much different than, like you said before, that LSU Ole Miss game. I think it was 9 and 13. So relatively similar. Losers not out of the playoff. Like we talked about before, there's going to be 2 lost teams in the playoff. Everyone is already starting to lose games. I forgot Penn State's still undefeated, but so your undefeated teams are Texas, Oregon, Penn State, Miami, Iowa State, BYU, and then like Indiana, Pitt,
Don't forget Army Navy. They'll let you know
Army. Right.
the group of 5 bottom dwell like a group of I love group of 5 Twitter, but there are some people who like just consume only group of 5 football. It's like,
Yeah.
fellas, like I love some G5 ball myself, but it's like, come on, man, let's toss in a little SEC maybe every once in a while, cleanse the palate.
Right. No, exactly. So 4 of those teams have a realistic shot of going undefeated. Like even Penn State and Oregon, somebody has to lose. Like if they both went undefeated, someone has to have a loss. Obviously, with one loss, both of them would be in there. But this is one of those games that you win it, your playoff potential goes through the roof. Like Tennessee, after this, has Kentucky, Mississippi State, Georgia, UTEP, Vandy. So they're only going to be underdogs in one of those games. It would be that at Georgia game. The rest of those, they will be pretty heavy favorites, I would be willing to say.
Mm-hmm.
Alabama's it's a little bit tougher. They have Missouri, and then they have to go to Death Valley, and then Mercer, Oklahoma, and Auburn. And the Iron Bowl is always, for the most part, a pretty good game, close game, even if Auburn's not that great. So, with that, all that being said, I think we'll know a lot more about Alabama after this game because that Tennessee offense has not looked very good the past couple of weeks. Like Ole Miss has gotten a lot of crap for their offense not looking as good, but the Tennessee offense has been pretty bad the last couple of weeks too.
They
And
look bad. No, Nico's fallen off a little bit, and I think we're starting to finally realize like he is super good. But it's like people forget like it's tough to play as a redshirt freshman. Like it really is.
yeah, I mean they had 25 against Oklahoma, 19 against or 14 against Arkansas, and 23 against Florida. Now that being said, if they come out and put up 40 or something like that, then that Alabama defense is very, very bad because, beginning of the year, they kind of Alabama got a little bit of the excuse strain of like, oh, it's early, like USF actually looks pretty good, blah, blah, blah. But I mean, their last 3 weeks, they've given up 34, 40, and 25. That's not going to win you a national championship. I don't even know if that would get you to the playoff because
No.
their offenses look fine, I guess, but they have been mistake riddled too the past couple weeks. I'm leaning towards Alabama winning this game just because I kind of think that Tennessee. I don't know. I don't. It's at Tennessee, so that makes it like a little bit more interesting for uh Tennessee to
That's
win.
true.
But if like Kalen DeBoer is on this stretch right now, like if he loses this one,
Yeah. If it becomes tight, then it's like then as legend from Tuscaloosa would say, strike frickin' two. Like, and you better not get that third, or
right, and that's why like, and neither one of them I'm saying should just like absolutely panic if they lose. Like it's your second loss, probably got to win out. I would say. I don't know. There might be a 3-loss team who get like seriously at this point. You might have a 3-loss team who gets in because unless people think Indiana's going to go 11-1, there's going to be teams with 2 losses no matter what. I don't care what anyone says. Army and Navy and Boise State are not going to take 3 at-large spots. It's not
no,
going to happen. So
no. Yeah, it'll be
we'll
just.
see.
I also got Bama in this game. I think it's going to be good. I just think I see the trend of Tennessee's offense being average continuing in this game, and this is a game where I don't think their offense can be average. But I'm going to move on to the game. I'm actually personally sorry, Tennessee fans, sorry, Alabama fans. This is the game, one of the biggest games I think. Is it? We're in a reactionary society where legend and legendary and the best and the greatest is just thrown around. This could be one of the best matchups I've ever seen in a regular season college football game.
Oh, it's
In the fact that it's SEC in conference play now, two top five teams, if I'm not mistaken.
I mean, I
Like,
have it pulled up. Yep, Georgia's number 5.
so it's a top five matchup. It's Texas's real first big SEC test. It's a coach who's won a national champion. It's two Heisman guys who wanted to be Heisman frontrunners at the beginning of the year. I am so stoked for this game.
Oh, I can't wait. um, I want though nothing more in my life than for Georgia just to come out and win like 38-3. That would make me
Oh,
so unbelievably, and I just want like first play of the game, like Carson Beck to do like just a bomb to somebody, and then receiver just do horns down right in front of that whole
yep.
fan base because Texas is, they're always kind of annoying, but they're being like they're on a different level now because the Cowboys suck. And they have nothing else to
Oh
look forward
yeah.
to. Like A&M's a
Yeah,
bunch of weirdos.
ACL has just done the music festival, so they're already coming down, or like they're feeling real good. Austin's fired up right now, but yeah, like you said, I it is only like Texas has been the only team this year that's been able to grasp that solo kind of we are in a league of our own, and everyone else is kind of, even though it might be like one step below, like an Oregon or Ohio State, it's like Texas has taken that title by grabbing the bull by the horns this year,
Yeah,
literally and figuratively, because Bevo, whoa, we have to keep these two live mascots away. The last time these two teams played, correct me if I'm wrong, there was a murder attempt at Uga. Bevo tried to kill Uga.
and that was the same game that what was his name? Sam Ellinger.
Sam Ellinger said, "We're back," and then they proceeded to suck for like 3 or 4 more years.
Exactly. It was in the
Well, he
the
wasn't
past.
wrong. He was just early. He was just early. He was an early investor. Those guys do real well in Silicon Valley, man.
So I actually do think Georgia's going to win this game. I just have this gut feeling that Georgia's going to win this game by like 10 points and kind of just shock Texas. I think people are being a little bit hard on Georgia right now. Yeah, they like had the close game versus Kentucky, and then they lost to Alabama.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, in what world? In what world are we acting like a loss to Alabama is bad? Like, I get it, Alabama's maybe not what they were under Nick Saban, but it's not. Losing a night game in Bryant-Denny Stadium is not a bad loss.
Mm-hmm.
You lost, like, it came down to like 1 or 2 plays. Michigan doesn't look good. Texas beat like Mississippi State, ULM, who is apparently 6-1. I had no clue that was a thing. But Texas hasn't really been truly tested yet. I mean, do you think Oklahoma's good?
I think they're good, but not a test by any of the means. That's a team that I think is not going to be ranked at the end of the year. So
Colorado State has a mechanic coaching their football team. They're not very good. So I'm going to say Texas 31-20.
So you think Texas is going to lose?
Or sorry,
lose
Georgia 31-20.
I have Georgia in a little bit closer of a game. I think this is another good back and forth, but like we talked about earlier in the show, Kirby Smart back against the wall. This is where he wants to be. This is where he likes to be. He doesn't. I think Kirby is like we've said, he's the czar of Athens. Kim Jong Kirby. We joke about these things, but when he needs that grit in that adversity, I think, to inspire his players. And I think he's going to use that. But I'm really excited for this game. Any other games that we need to touch on? There's Michigan, Illinois, and it's going to be a Big Ten slugfest. But
I mean, you have that LSU Arkansas game like that. That could be like some of the I don't know with a lot of these teams. Like I don't know.
I mean, if Arkansas wins this, they're ranked. And I mean, our guy who we listen to, probably we both can't. I know I speak for you on this, Zooch, cannot recommend Josh Pate enough for people hoping for another college football podcast to listen to. But he has Arkansas ranked in the JP poll.
He also had Ole Miss at like 7 in that thing. That has made me even that reignited my anger because it was a bad weekend and my keys ended up in a dumpster at work and I had to dig through trash and it was just a horrible weekend. I was like, I've gone from playoff expectations to having to watch Jackson Dart get compared to Anakin Skywalker and digging in a dumpster for my car keys. So that game I think could be pretty good. SMU has to go to Stanford. They're starting to get a little bit of hype.
And I got a little trap game. Miami at Louisville early in the morning. That's I think 12 o'clock start on the East Coast. So another little trap game for Miami. They've been on that bye, coming riding high from the Cal victory. But yeah, I mean those.
My Big 12 game to watch, and I know they're on a 3-game losing streak. Excuse me, is UCF at Iowa State.
Great game.
Like I know they've lost 3 in a row. Iowa State looks good, but Big 12 is something else.
It's open, and us, the chaos fans. The chaos situation is if there is a one or if every team in the Big 12 has a loss or even two losses, does a undefeated or one loss group of five school get the fourth spot, which could just be insane.
It would be.
And
I mean,
you really get to tell the ball knowledgers and the ball knowers over the non-ball knowers in that, because the people who are like, that's impossible. It's like, nope, you're just feeding the lies that ESPN's feeding you.
right. Big 12. Big 12, which is, I think it's next, the meme matchup of the week. Mine is two Big 12 schools because it is a
There's a few
hilarious
Big
matchup.
12 schools. All right, then I'm going to let you kick it off. Last part of the show, the big meme matchup of the week. Zooch kick it off with a Big 12 matchup. This is the first week in a while I think we've had. Did last week we had the same one?
I believe so. This
No,
one,
no, no. We had different ones because yeah, mine's not a Big 12 matchup. I'm interested to hear this.
okay, so this one kicks off Friday night, and it is Ollie Gordon and Mike Gundy having to go to Provo, Utah, which you can't even find a beer in the entire area to play a game. And it's just
That's good. That is a yeah, no, yeah. How is he gonna? I feel like Mike Gundy has to have a beer before a game. Mike Gundy, Chili's in Provo. That's your spot.
that's the only spot you can go to because other than that, there's like a burger place that has like the 50s style, like, oh, our milkshakes are hand spun. Okay, yeah, so are there 500 different places in every other city?
Yeah,
Provo, it's not that
yeah,
impressive.
yeah. And it's 7.39 for one milkshake.
Right. No, Mike Gundy having to go there, and it would be so funny if like this is a game that Ollie Gordon just for some reason runs for like 230 yards
Yes.
for no reason. They're on a 3-game losing streak too.
Well, I think they're Oklahoma State. They're one of these schools that, and I don't know why teams do this. It's just like the old guy quarterbacks that I think we've hit like saturation point. I think it is going to start reverting back to like you have to play young guys. Like this whole
Well,
portal
especially old
grabbing
guys who
of
have not
things.
even been that good. Like Dylan Gabriel has been pretty good his whole career.
Yeah,
Alec Bowman and Cam Rising have been mediocre at best. Like there's no one on planet Earth who's like, oh yeah, like that Cam Rising, like everyone knows his name because he's been there for so long. Not that he's bad or anything like that, but I don't think Cam Rising does like a ton for Utah. Like,
no, I agree. But yeah, that's gonna be a fun one. I didn't even know that game was on a Friday night too. That's funny. So my meme matchup is one that it was a preseason meme matchup for me. It is the 1-4 mighty Bruins of UCLA flying across the country to play Rutgers at what will be a 9 a.m. West Coast start time.
that's so
This is just it'll be an incredible game. This final score where if you like the overs, this is not going to be the game for you. But yeah, this is another game where I was just find UCLA. It's been tougher than even I imagined it could be. And being here in Southern California, it is like even USC in their ups and downs, there is still a hype and a buzz. And UCLA fans, they're already not the most passionate as we've seen for football in their Rose Bowl attendance, but it's almost like they're in hiding this year. When I go walk on the Strand, it's almost like every other college is represented on Saturdays when I go on my runs and my walks of people representing their alma maters, except for UCLA, which is the closest big university to where I live.
the funny, and I will miss it so much because everything is different now. But there is nothing funnier than being in Las Vegas for like the Mountain West Championships to go watch Boise State, and you're on the Strip, and they would play the Big 12 one in T-Mobile
The
Arena.
The Pac-12.
Yeah, the Pac-12 in the T-Mobile Arena, and like a game would end, and you just see like an exodus of like Cal and like UCLA, and like people are just like, you're not going to
The Arizona Bros. From what you've said, the Arizona Bros just run college basketball championship weekend in Vegas.
They do.
Yeah.
You'll see like some Arizona State scattered. Like UCLA, I will say to that travels decently well, but they're
There's
like
basketball. They're a
the
basketball school.
funniest thing I've ever heard somebody say is like Oregon State fans talking to UCLA fans, and the Oregon State fans are like, "Hey, we're gonna go hit these $10 blackjack tables. Do y'all want to come?" And the UCLA fans are like, "We're going to the $200 tables."
No.
Like, okay, calm down. Also, before I forget, there's a chance also that Mike Gundy has to coach with an eye patch this weekend because
Oh
he
yeah,
got,
because
he got hit by one of his bulls on his ranch.
if he shows up, um, eye patch Mike Gundy on a Friday night in Provo, Utah, and oh my gosh, this has to be an Ollie Gordon breakout game.
Yes,
Like
Oklahoma
this
State will
has
win that game.
this has oh that I would love that because it's just more chaos for the Big 12 and not the fondest of BYU myself.
Exactly.
But yeah, great show. Zooch, do you have anything else for us?
Nothing else. You got a bunch of good games. Well, I mean, we're in the thick of it right now. Good games
Mhm.
every weekend from here on out. Except maybe that like week before rivalry week where
Yeah.
everyone kind of plays a crappy school. But yeah, I mean, just enjoy it. I mean, we're almost
We're,
in
after
November.
this
So
week, we're at the after this week, I think we're the halfway point.
yeah,
Wow,
so
halfway through the regular season. That'll be crazy. Well, thank you for everyone for listening. As always, make sure to like and subscribe. Give us a follow on the Instagram. Everything's at Settled Down. Make sure to give at Takeover Sports a follow too. Been doing a lot of work with them. If you are in the Boise area and like to see local content, also go check out the new video on YouTube. Cody and Ryan and Sean went around checking out great tailgate scenes from the Boise State game. So it was an awesome video, some cool stuff. They check out some really decked out tailgates. But yeah, shoot us a like. Make sure you're subscribing on whatever you're listening to with us, and enjoy the weekend. Enjoy the games.